That was kind of when my daughter had submission this Friday.
How old is your daughter?
She is 32.
Okay. Have you called all the jails and hospitals?
The family's excited as well as myself. And we're excited to see what's going to happen on Tuesday so this family can get closure.
My name is Maya Williams. And I'm Anicia Williams. Our mother is Deanna Cook, who died from domestic violence in 2012 on August 17th. But now at the age of 16 and my sister being 18, we have came a long way in being strong for each other. Now I'm getting ready to graduate high school, and I'm going to attend a four-year university here in Texas.
32-year-old Deanna Antoinette Cook was the oldest of four sisters, and from the very start, she carried this feeling that life had something bigger in store for her. She dreamed of being a star not necessarily on stage or on screen, but just in life, you know? Her family remembered her as incredibly confident, a natural leader, always a step ahead of everyone else. Deanna lived life full throttle, always going all out. Her loved ones used to say she was on 10, and she almost inevitably ended up at the center of any group. Her mom, Vicky, used to smile and say that Deanna never felt awkward around strangers. She could start a conversation effortlessly, connect with just about anyone, and she literally radiated energy. But it wasn't pushy, it was more like this warm, magnetic light that people were drawn to. She had this way of filling a space with life just by being there. Deanna had been athletic since she was a kid. She ran like the track was made just for her, breaking records and catching the attention of coaches. She loved animals, treasured time with family, and above all, adored her two daughters, Anya and Anaya, who were the center of her world. After going through two divorces, Deanna didn't fall apart instead. She focused on the future. She threw herself into work, tackled moving into a new home, and even tried writing a book, like she wanted to capture everything she had been through. Vicky said the Dallas neighborhood they used to live in had a lot of dangerous spots and a pretty high crime rate. Deanna knew this. That's exactly why she worked so hard to change her life and the lives of her girls. She dreamed of a calm, cozy street, and she made it happen. They moved to a place where more and more young families were settling in, a place that had this real sense of community. Kids rode bikes around the streets without a worry. Trees grew lush in the yards, and flower beds in front of the houses were well kept and blooming. Doors were often left open, neighbors knew each other by name, and it felt like danger was a world away. The new house had a pool, and each of Deanna's daughters had her own room. It was a completely different life, not what they were used to before, but exactly the kind of life Deanna wanted for her kids. Later, the girls would say the house felt like a real castle to them. Deanna finally felt like she'd found a place where they could really settle down. A place where they could breathe, feel safe, and focus on the good stuff. Friday, August 17th, 2012. Deanna had this habit of calling her mom at least twice a day. That morning, they spoke at 6:30 during their prayer group. It was just a normal, warm conversation, the kind they had a lot of. When Deanna hung up, she said, "Bye, Mama," and Vicky replied, "Goodbye, Deanna." Later, Vicky admitted she didn't even know why she said goodbye. She never said it like that before. Usually it was simple, everyday stuff. See you later. The second call from Deanna was supposed to come at 10 o'clock in the morning when she was heading to work at the car dealership, but Vicky's phone never rang. Time passed. 1 o'clock rolled around. Deanna's daughters, who were at their aunt's that day, were expecting their mom to drop by with some money. Her youngest daughter was getting her hair done for school. It was a clear plan, a familiar routine, but Deanna never showed up. Another 2 days went by. Sunday morning, August 19th. Deanna didn't show up for church. For this family, that was unthinkable. They prayed together every week, and her absence, no calls, no messages, started to feel like real terror. Vicky could feel the anxiety gripping her chest tighter and tighter. After church, Vicky picked up her daughter Kartha along with Anya and Anaya, and they all headed over to Deanna's house. 1:35. As soon as they got there, something felt off. Water was leaking out from under the garage doors, so much of it that it ran straight into the street and further down the road. They heard her dog barking, nervous and nonstop. At the door, there was this heavy, eerie smell that you just couldn't ignore. Vicky immediately called the police, but the response they got over the phone was so cold and unexpected, it literally stunned the whole family.
That was kind of when.
My daughter had submission this Friday.
How old is your daughter?
She is 32.
Okay. Have you called all the jails and hospitals?
They were told that the police had actually already been at Deanna's house on the 17th because a call came from inside the home, but nobody answered the door, and that was the same day she went missing. When Vicky realized this was true, she begged someone to come and help them get into the house, but all she got in response was a flat refusal.
I don't know what they came out there for, but we came out there.
On the 17th.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, that was just a couple of days ago. And Deanna's been missing since the 17th.
You think somebody did something to her?
Yes, I do.
You're refusing to call the jail?
No, I just wanted the officers here to help us get in the house.
Police can help you get in the house.
Ma'am, can you just send the police over here?
No, ma'am. You have to do this first.
Totally frustrated with the 911 response, Khalifa told her mom to step back. She was about to kick the door in. You know, when it's someone you love, you just know, like, you can feel it. You know your people, and you just know when something's wrong.
We got it in.
Okay, let me know if she's inside.
When the back door finally opened, the smell hit even stronger. Kara froze for a moment, hesitating, scared to go any further. The floor inside the house was flooded, but Ania barreled straight toward the front door. When Kara and Vicky opened it for her, she walked in without a hint of fear, and everyone followed her in a chain. Water was everywhere inside Deanna's house, sometimes up to their ankles.
Water is all over the floor.
Vicky stayed on the line with 911 the whole time as they made their way through the house. Inside, it was total chaos. Some doors were broken, and it was clear that authorities needed to get there immediately. In Deanna's bedroom, there was a separate bathroom, and that's where the water was obviously coming from. Vicky pushed on the bathroom door, and it literally flew off its hinges. The room was trashed, and in the bathroom, they found Deanna.
Something happened in here. Her room is towed up.
Okay, ma'am, I'm sending police. Don't. I need everybody back outside. Okay. What is it? Miss Cook, did you find her? Miss Cook? Miss Cook?
Before we keep going, I just need about 15 seconds of your time, please. Hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, and drop a comment letting me know where you're watching from and what the weather's like. It really helps my videos get out there. Alright, thanks. Let's continue. Deanna was lying face down in the bathtub, completely still. The water was still running, a constant stream, like time in that room had just stopped. She was wearing only her underwear, no protection, no dignity, no chance to save herself. The water around her body had turned red in spots from blood, mixing with the steam and creating this eerie, almost unreal scene. It was the kind of sight you just can't forget even if you want to. Instinctively, Khalifa lunged for the tub, trying to shut off the water, like maybe something could still be fixed, like there was a chance to change things. But Vicky grabbed her sharply and pulled her back. Don't touch anything. This is a crime scene. In that moment, Vicky was in complete, absolute despair. Later, she would say the only thing that held her together was God. She said faith alone kept her from taking her own life right there on the bathroom floor, next to her daughter's body. By the condition of her skin, it was clear immediately Deanna had been scalded with boiling water. It had been so hot and running so long that her skin was literally peeling off in layers, unable to withstand the temperature. Her face was severely swollen, disfigured, burned almost unrecognizable. Everything pointed to one thing: she had already been dead for several days, and this horror had continued even after her death. The body was so swollen and in a state of decomposition that at first, the medical examiners struggled to determine the exact cause of death. But eventually, the truth became clear. She had been strangled. After that, the body was taken, and officially, the police began the hunt for her killer. But for the family, the answer came almost instantly. Connections started to form right away. As soon as Vicky realized what had happened, she screamed, unable to hold back her voice. He did this. He said he would do it, and he did it. Khalifa didn't even hesitate. They both knew. From the very first second, Deanna's ex-husband, 35-year-old Delvio Patrick, a man who had been a shadow over her life for years. Their relationship had never just been difficult, it had always been dangerous. They got married in 2008, and according to Vicky, the red flags appeared almost immediately. But when he proposed, Deanna said yes. She believed she could save him, help him change, make him better. She believed in the power of love and patience. The reality? Delvio was the worst of the worst, aggressive, uncontrollable, a man constantly cycling in and out of prison. Eventually, Deanna filed for divorce and got a restraining order. But on paper, it looked stronger than it actually was. Nothing stopped him. He continued to track her down, harass her, torment her, and threaten to kill her. During one attack, the police even had to use a taser on him. Vicky said he openly threatened to kill everyone, Deanna, her daughters, even herself. He nurtured a hatred toward anyone involved in Deanna's life, like she still belonged to him, even after the divorce. But despite everything the family saw and heard, they later realized there was so much more to her story than they knew. Deanna had moved multiple times, trying to escape him, changing homes, addresses, her whole life rhythm. But he always found her. It's easy to see that over time, she became increasingly frustrated by the lack of real support from the police. Fear became a constant background in her life. Just 3 days before her death, she had posted on social media about a stalker, about her anxieties, about the fear of someone breaking into her home. It was a cry for help, a cry that went unheard.
Well, 911, this is Pat. What's your emergency? I have a stalker. He's been out here in his house all day long. He's out here across the street watching my house. So what it's saying is, you look up my name, you can see about 100,000 on a thousand complaints. But ain't nobody doing nothing. And then he's already trying to kill me 3 times, so I'm really just really fed up with this. I can't keep moving and changing my life because of it.
And while her family sat at the police station, trying to get answers, they heard a recording from the next room. It was Deanna's last call to the police made just 2 days before she was found. And, as they now realized, in the final minutes of her life, the same call the dispatcher had referred to when Vicky had called 911. Calling that call chilling doesn't even begin to cover it. The full version was never released. It lasted over 10 minutes and captured every bit of the horror she was going through. Before we go any further, we need to give a content warning. In just a moment, you're going to hear a short clip from a 911 call. It's extremely hard to listen to. We're not including it for shock value, and we want to make that very clear. We're sharing it because it gives critically important context for what happened next. It shows, in her own voice, just how desperately she was trying to get help. So if you need to take a break or skip this part, please do. You can fast forward about a minute.
Dallas 911, this is Tanita. What is your emergency? Hello? I'm going to need an address. Hello? I need an address. Hello?
During the call, Deanna first called Delveo by his nickname Red, and then repeated his full name several times. From the very start, she was screaming, begging for help, and trying to fight back as he began hitting and strangling her. He taunted her, mocking her and asking where the police were, while she pleaded for her life.
We're police. No, you didn't die away. Somebody help me.
Then he told her, straight up, that he was going to kill her. The call captured her struggling to breathe, along with the sounds of water bubbling like her head was being held under. Then the line went completely silent for 15 long minutes, and the only thing you could hear was her dog barking in the background. Because Deanna was calling from a cell phone, not a landline, pinpointing her address was harder. Even so, the call was logged but only as a priority 2, which is a lower level of urgency. It took the officers nearly an hour to get to the house. When they arrived, they knocked, quickly checked the property from the outside, and when no one answered, they left. Later, the police said they hadn't received critically important information and that the full details of the call hadn't been passed along. On top of that, the patrol car had stopped twice on the way to the house, once to check an alarm that had gone off, and another time to buy bottles of water at a 7-Eleven. Considering how many times Deanna had reached out to the police before and how much info was already in the system, it's frankly baffling and unforgivable that this case wasn't immediately flagged as critical. He was charged with first-degree murder. He pleaded not guilty and chose not to testify in his own defense.
Been a 2.5-year wait for justice. Jury selection begins tomorrow in the murder trial of Delvecchio Patrick.
And Heather, this trial has already been delayed several times, prolonging closure for Deanna Cook's family. They say Delvecchio Patrick is dead to them, but they still want him prosecuted to the fullest extent of the law. Still, they know their message goes beyond a verdict. Her sisters hope that her story will rescue other women from domestic violence.
Silence is not golden.
Deanna Cook's voice lives on 2.5 years after her last breath.
That she's here with all of us, and she is beckoning you to make a difference.
2 days later, her mother called 911 requesting a welfare check, but the operator told her to call the jail and hospitals instead. They did find her. After kicking in her front door, she was lying dead in her bathtub.
What we experienced was horrible, and what we have to live on a daily basis through the memories, that's horrible. But at the same time, I'm glad that a light was shined on this situation so that the changes could be made in the system.
That 911 operator was later fired, 2 others reprimanded, and the city of Dallas overhauled its 911 operations and hired more call takers after Cook's murder. It also helped spawn Mayor Mike Rawlings' campaign to end domestic abuse.
Amen.
On the eve of her trial, family and friends released balloons in her honor. When I asked what her sister wanted to say to Delvecchio Patrick,
I have no energy for him.
Valicia Battle chose not to listen to her sister's 911 calls, but she wants the jury to hear every single word.
I think that's a necessity to understand exactly what was going on and exactly what the dispatch heard and exactly what was happening at that moment and what allowed police officers to stop and get Sprite instead of hurrying to this instant and to quench your thirst instead of saving a life.
Delvecchio Patrick has an extensive criminal history, including assault, aggravated robbery, drug possession, and resisting arrest. He now faces life in prison. Heather?
All right, Calvert Collins live tonight. Thank you.
As the trial prep got underway, the prosecution decided to bring up some facts right away that they knew the defense was going to use anyway. Deanna's history with substances, and that one time she had defended herself against him. The judge had ruled it self-defense, and Deanna had been cleared, but the prosecution wanted to get it all out in the open first, to beat any narrative the defense might try to push. While waiting for the trial, Delvecchio got a tattoo on his leg. According to the prosecution, there was no other way to interpret it. The tattoo showed a woman resembling Deanna, engulfed in flames and screaming a scene that mirrored her struggle to survive in the scalding bathtub. Meanwhile, the defense insisted the tattoo was just of a rap artist.
Hello and good evening. The murder trial of a man named Delvecchio Patrick opened today in Dallas with some gut-wrenching testimony.
When Carlita kicked the door in, the smell hit her and she just turned and ran. And I went in and the water, like it was so high, it was covering my feet.
Vicky Cook made her way through the house to the bedroom and then opened the door to Deanna's bathroom.
I saw like a shadow. A shadow behind the curtain, and I started screaming because it was her, and the water was still running. The water was still running, and I just said, "He killed her." He said he was gonna do it, and he did it. He did it.
People in the gallery were crying as Vicky Cook gave her anguished testimony. Judge Brandon Birmingham called for a recess. Delvecchio Patrick sat, showing no reaction to what she described.
Defense attorney Roger Lennox asked the court to acquit his client, putting the blame for Deanna's death on her. He claimed that during the 911 call, she was hallucinating because of drug use and a mental disorder. According to him, she had died after losing consciousness in the bathtub. A forensic toxicologist confirmed that Deanna had PCP in her system at the time of her death. The defense argued this created reasonable doubt, saying the 911 call didn't match the physical evidence and supposedly showed that Deanna was detached from reality. Court psychologist Christy Compton performed what she called a psychological autopsy of Deanna. Her findings showed that in the past, Deanna had received treatment for bipolar disorder, schizophrenia, mood disorders, and substance abuse. She noted that Ms. Cook experienced a wide range of mental states that sometimes led to different behavior patterns, lifestyle choices, and occasionally chaotic, self-destructive actions. She also confirmed that someone under the influence of PCP could hallucinate and believe they were being attacked. However, during cross-examination, she admitted she saw no signs that Deanna was delirious or hallucinating during the 911 call. Assistant District Attorney Trey Stock wasn't having any of it and made it clear that trying to pin any blame on Deanna was absolutely horrifying. He said, "The idea that she was hallucinating while her husband repeatedly said, 'I'm going to kill you, I'm going to kill you,' is absurd. She didn't make that up. I heard it. You heard it. Delvecchio heard it. And he said it." For every witness the defense called, for every attempt to blame Deanna, the prosecution had even more evidence. Countless people took the stand to tell the court exactly what they had seen, what Del Valle had been doing to Deanna for years. They even called a former Dallas County jail employee who testified that she had heard him tell another inmate that he had killed Deanna. Throughout the trial, he sat completely emotionless, looking bored, like the whole thing was just an inconvenience to him. Even when the chilling 911 call was played in court and Vicky sat on the witness stand, staring him down, he didn't react at all.
Well, we did not hear from Delvecchio Patrick from the witness stand, first off. That's his right, nothing to read into that. But we did hear from a fellow inmate today and that jail nurse, one who says Patrick admitted to killing Deanna Cook, another who says they never heard that.
And then Mr. Patrick said, I did. And Mr. Stoker kind of looked at him and he said, I killed that.
After a difficult week, the verdict was in.
Out of Dallas, a guilty verdict in the high-profile Dallas murder case. Delvecchio Patrick now faces a life sentence after the jury convicted him in the murder of his ex-wife, Deanna Cook.
3 hours and 20 minutes, jurors deliberated before returning that guilty verdict. There was a lot of emotion in the courtroom, but the judge admonished everyone not to cry out, not to scream, not to react in any way when the verdict was read. And as soon as that guilty verdict was pronounced, people began spilling out into the hallway, and as you can imagine, the emotion spilled out there as well.
The family's excited as well as myself, and we're excited to see what's going to happen on Tuesday so this family can get closure.
He was found guilty of murder, and the official cause of death was listed as intentional violence, including drowning. The prosecutors were pushing for life in prison, while the defense was arguing for the minimum just 5 years. His mother, Tony, spoke up, saying her son had 2 young children, a family who loved him deeply, a close-knit household, and a father with serious health problems. I'm asking for mercy and leniency for my son, Delvecchio Patrick, she said.
Confinement in the institutional division of the Texas Department of Criminal Justice for 85 years.
Here's the breaking news at this half hour, a verdict in the sentencing phase of the Delvecchio Patrick murder trial.
You'll remember he was found guilty of killing his ex-wife last week, and now we know how long he will serve. Ken Kaltoff has been following this trial from the very beginning. Ken, what do you have?
Prosecutors wanted a life sentence here. The ex-husband's lawyers suggested as little as 5 years. And so the victim's relatives are pleased tonight with a long 85 years, especially after...
Delvecchio Patrick was sentenced to 85 years in prison. It's not officially a life sentence, but it's as close to life as the law allows. According to the ruling, he'll be eligible for parole when he turns 65. Whether he lives that long or ever actually gets the chance is something only time will tell. For Deanna's family, even the idea of parole felt like another blow, another injustice in a life that had already been shattered. When Deanna's daughters read their statements to the court, the words full of pain, loss, and love for the mother who had been taken from them, he laughed. In the courtroom, where silence and tension hung thick, he mocked them, and before being led back to his cell, he even gave them the middle finger. For the family, that gesture confirmed it. There was no remorse. Not now. Not ever. Vicky described him as a person without feelings, without a soul, without a conscience, someone born, it seemed, not to live among people. She talked about him like there was nothing human left inside. Former prosecutor Heath Harris was even more blunt, saying Delvecchio was as close to the devil as a living being could be. I've prosecuted the worst of the worst and defended the worst of the worst, Harris said, and I'll tell you straight, he is one of the worst of the worst. We all like to believe that if we ever have to rely on the system, police, courts, emergency services, it will work, that it will protect us. But sometimes a case comes along that exposes the failures of that system so painfully and clearly that you have to ask yourself, how is this even supposed to work? And does it? Really? For Deanna's family, this became one of those tragedies that leaves a deep mistrust, one that doesn't fade with time and stays with people for life. Almost immediately after her murder, the Dallas police announced an internal investigation. Usually, the district attorney's office and law enforcement work together to find the root of problems and prevent tragedies like this from happening again. But in this case, according to the family, that never happened. As a result, Deanna's loved ones filed a civil lawsuit for wrongful death against the city of Dallas and the police department. Regarding the 911 call itself, court documents show that for 9 minutes, the line captured sounds of a violent struggle. These weren't words, just noises, hits, signs that something terrifying was happening. After the dispatcher identified the address, the lawsuit claims she sent an updated alert to the responding officers, adding the word urgent. By that point, the call had already been going on for 10 minutes. The lawsuit also claims that the officers en route to the house made 2 stops on the way. The first was to check an alarm after it went off, the second to stop at a 7-Eleven. Ultimately, they didn't arrive until 50 minutes after Deanna first dialed 911. Later, the dispatcher said, "For a moment, I really wondered why the call hadn't been forwarded yet, but I just assumed they were busy. I wasn't refusing to send the police. I was doing what I was trained to do." The officers, meanwhile, claimed they knocked but heard nothing. The blinds were closed, and all they could hear was a dog barking inside. The lawsuit notes that the officers didn't check the house from the back, didn't inspect all the windows, and never tried to force their way in. "We assumed she either left or just wasn't opening the door," one officer said. Vicky said that if the officers had known this house had been involved in multiple prior calls, had been given the full information, and hadn't stopped along the way for a drink, who knows what might have happened. The officers showed up with minimal details. They only knew they were responding to a domestic disturbance. Very little information was passed along, and according to court records, the dispatcher never reported that Deanna was in the middle of an attack. The filing also included claims of discrimination. Deanna's sister said, "Your race matters. Your gender matters. Would they have stopped at a 7-Eleven if this was someone from Highland Park?" In 2019, U.S. District Judge David C. Godbey issued a final ruling, dismissing all claims against the city and its employees. The U.S. Supreme Court refused to hear the appeal. After the investigation, Police Chief Brown held the 911 dispatcher responsible for failing to include critically important information in her report. Despite recommendations from several supervisors not to take disciplinary action, the dispatcher was still suspended for 10 days. She appealed, insisting that she had acted according to her training and had done her job to the best of her ability. Tonita Hopkins, the woman who took Deanna's call, later broke her silence in an interview. She described the 911 call center as understaffed, overloaded, and operating in a constant state of crisis. A system that, according to her, was already stretched to its limits and that day failed to save a life.
Blamed you. They said Deanna Cook died because of a botched 911 call that was mishandled by you.
I didn't blame people for thinking that because they don't know all the information. At the end of the day, somebody lost a daughter, a mother, and a sister. That was what was important to me.
You pick up that first call.
And the first call is that call.
Deanna called from a cell phone, so Tonita didn't have an exact address, only a street name, Crimson Court. She sent that to the dispatcher, as well as the code for domestic violence.
When the dispatcher sees that note, they're supposed to then what?
According to the training, they should be dispatching within 3 minutes.
That's how it's supposed to work.
That's how it's supposed to work.
Believing officers were on the way, Tonita kept looking for an exact address. She found a match in the system because Deanna had called 911 before.
Once I found the address, I was very relieved, and I was thinking, okay, she'll get the help she needs.
9 minutes into the call, Tonita sent the house number to the dispatcher along with the word urgent.
Urgent.
I typed in urgent, and I typed address updated, and still hear disturbance in the background, something to that effect.
It's painful to listen to. You hear a woman who sounds like she's struggling for her life.
Mm-hmm.
And the obvious question is, how could you not stand up and scream and say, hey, I got to get somebody to this person right now?
I didn't hear it. If I heard as much as you're saying, then I would have.
Did you hear Deanna choking?
No.
Dispatcher who took Vicky's call on the day she found her daughter was fired. Mayor Mike Rollins made fighting domestic violence a personal mission, launching a citywide campaign to combat it.
And then our safety net wasn't there for her.
He said, "We all let her down. The system let her down. The neighbors nearby let her down. The media let her down. The mayor let her down." According to the Dallas 911 Center, they made a series of changes after this, including increasing staff and taking domestic violence cases more seriously by raising their priority. Their statement reads, "Improvements made to our current 911 system have resulted in service levels exceeding the standards recommended by the National Emergency Number Association. which says 90% of all incoming 911 calls should be answered within 10 seconds or less. Right now, the average response time is 3 seconds.
My name is Anaya Williams. And I'm Anicia Williams. Our mother is Deanna Cook, who died from domestic violence in 2012 on August 17th. But now at the age of 16 and my sister being 18, we have came a long way in being strong for each other. Now I'm getting ready to graduate high school, and I'm going to attend a four-year university here in Texas. I have been keeping my mind focused on my studies with AP classes and with sports. We have not given up. We have started a nonprofit organization called Deanna's Voice, so we can use our mother's voice to save other victims. To hear the rest of her story, please visit deannasvoice.org.
Deanna's family created a charity in her honor called Diana's Voice. After her murder, the hashtag number Diana's Voice started spreading across social media. The foundation hosts events, runs a scholarship program, and operates the Breaking the Barriers initiative, which supports families in situations similar to the one they went through. Anaya is now a professional volleyball player competing overseas. We want this to never happen to another family. We want to teach our nieces and other young women what healthy relationships look like. That's what we're focusing on now. When you say her name, especially around town, people remember who she was, and that matters to me. We lost our anchor. We lost our strength. It broke our family, and we're still trying to pull ourselves together. When Vicky was asked what she would say to Delveo if she could, she replied, "I hate what you did, but I forgive you, because I can't get to heaven carrying hatred in my heart. I never thought I'd live to see the death of my children. I thought they'd bury me, but God had a different plan." Thank you to everyone who has been with us from the beginning of this video all the way to the end. Your attention, your time, your presence, it really means the world to us. If this story resonated with you, if you think it's important to talk about these topics and remember the lives that were shattered, you can support our channel in some really simple ways. Give this video a like, leave a comment, share it with people who might care, and subscribe to the channel. Every action helps us keep doing this work, telling difficult, painful, but necessary stories, and making sure this content stays honest and meaningful. We truly appreciate your support, and thank you for staying with us.